What happens to us when we leave this world? I don't know. Since meeting you, I feel close to the people I loved as a child. And this makes me feel they are nearby, perhaps nurturing the hope of someday wanting to come back to life. But I look around. There is little that has changed. If I was the one who died, it would be a long time before I would hope to be born again. To survive means you are the one left. It means your heart is broken. I believe in the sweetness of angels, in divine intervention, be it bold, be it slight. And I believe that once you've stepped over, there is no turning back for you. Tasted the light. I release the weight on my shoulders. I release the voice in my head that says, please, before you get any older, you must wake from your dreaming, make up your bed. I'm a midwife. Actually, what I do is I remind women of what they already know, that everything she needs for this birth is right here, within 10 feet of her. She just has to open her eyes and see it. Labor is such a dynamic thing. For most women, in a safe environment, everything works.
My name is Meg. I'm your midwife. What are your secrets? What makes you angry? Afraid? We can do a fear session, a what-if question and answer period, so you don't need to fear.
Sometimes a baby will die. In hospital, at home, it happens. Death is also a rite of passage. You learn that sometimes the little soul is on a journey of its own. That when a child is born or someone dies, the window to the universe is wide open. A long time ago, a woman like me, they would have honored me. They would have called me a wise woman. Not so long ago, they would have burned me as a witch. I met Nicole on my birthday, so she seemed like a gift to me. She was 37 years old, 17 weeks pregnant, her third pregnancy. She absolutely wanted a home birth. Nicole's labor began one night near the end of winter, Venus in Pisces, Moon in Scorpio. And that night, for a split second, I was there at the open window. Listen to this. From the beginning, everything matters.
You think you are that I can't touch my baby? I carried that baby for 9 months. He was coming out of my own body. I was spilling my guts for him. You are getting nowhere to tell me that for all this I get nothing. Look at the wound in my belly. And what about the child? He needs to be held. To hell with your policy. So I went to the incubator, and the nurse could see that I was going to do what I had set out in my heart to do, and she helped me to hold him. I was holding this precious little person in my arms, and my heart was breaking in a way only a mother can know. This is a long moment of my life, which I hold in my mind's eye. The room was a little bit cold. There was a buzzing sound somewhere, and the light was too bright. You're looking at the little fingers, and the feet shaped so small like a doll, and he's breathing, and he's warm, and all the hunger inside of you is satisfied. You can fall asleep like that. You know you are where the universe has put you. And then my blonde baby boy, he opened his eyes. He looked at me like he understand the sound of my own voice. And then he puked all over me. I was 17 years old when I had this amazing experience. Well, it was such a surprise to me. I conceived the baby during a game of strip poker in the shed behind my girlfriend's house. A couple of Vietnam vets. They had just gotten back from the war. They were just days off the plane. Trish and the writer, they weren't losing the strip poker game, but me and Mr. Body of David, we were drunk and naked and sweaty and laughing on the floor. Suddenly, he rolls over on top of me. I say, oh no, please don't do that. That would make me sick to my stomach. But he just go, came all over my belly. Trish and the writer laughed. Far on, we can put this in the book too. Oh, I conceive a baby like that. Whew. It was 1 in a million.
I didn't know I was pregnant. How could I be? You have to have sex to have a baby, don't you? Because I was on the gymnastics team, I noticed that I had gained a little weight. My boyfriend, he was ordering salads for me. He thought I was getting a little bit fat. The short of it was that nobody knew I was pregnant. I gained 9 pounds all told. In November, I'm lying in the bathtub and some milk comes out of my breast. I'm thinking, holy shit, that only happens when you're pregnant. And bam, I closed the door to it. Finally, my mother turns to me in January and she say, I can't stand it anymore. You're pregnant. I'm 8 months pregnant. She tell me, but she's ashamed of me. And her first concern is the neighbors. Qu'est-ce qu'on dira? She asked me.
I decided to thank each one of my teachers before dropping out of school. You don't like this one? Okay. My drama teacher, she is connected to the artist in me. She surprises me by inviting me to live with her. Well, her husband had just died. I suppose she was lonely in the country in the big, huge house with the big black dogs. So I embrace her and she say, okay, tomorrow I got a doctor's appointment for you. I drive home with her that afternoon and move in with her that very night. Her name is Annie. And she does an amazing thing. She tells me she believes in me and wants me to have something. I got lots of money, she say. You can have whatever you want. You can eat anything you want. Your boyfriend can come into this house and make love with you anytime you want. The next day, she take me on a shopping spree. One is to buy a top-of-the-hill stereo. The next is to buy me $1,000 worth of maternity clothes to wear for 1 month. So I could respect myself and others could be proud of me. All dressed up in these beautiful clothes. On February 23rd, I get up to answer the phone ringing. And a gush of water spill out between my legs all at once. It's my girlfriend, Geraldine. I just peed all over the couch. That's
That's your water breaking, she tells me in a panic. Get your bag together and we'll go down to the hospital. And so it begins. My doctor come in and check me. The nurses, they come in and they all check me one after another. No labor pains. I feel fine. But my doctors say, like, something is wrong. I've arranged for a specialist to check you out. He'll be here soon. Why don't you have a nap?
Good evening. I'm Dr. Franklin. I've come to check you.
Between 5 and 11 o'clock, the nurse is checking me and an enema. I am embarrassed so deeply and just trying to endure the pain that is so strong. At 1 in the morning, I'm screaming every time the pain is visiting me. The nurses are saying, "Shh, this is a hospital. There are other people in this building. See that woman over there? She's not screaming." The doctor decide we're going to have a cesarean, and that frightens me because I know it means they're going to cut me up. My mother won't give permission. She doesn't want to have anything to do with me. And this is when I realize I am not a child anymore. But I am fortunate to have my cousin who was a nurse, and she was on duty that night, and she signed the release. And then I am somehow coming out of my body. I am floating up on the ceiling, watching all the commotion, when I realize I am looking down on the body of a woman, and it is my body. It is me they are doing those things to. And then I saw my baby. He was shining through all the layers of skin and blood and instrument like a shining orb, like a jewel, like a treasure. And when they pinched off the tube to bring me back, I already knew that my baby was a boy. In that moment, I say to the nurses, "Oh, I'm so sorry for speaking to you in that way."
The next day, I have a chance to see my blonde baby boy for a few moments. He opened his eyes, he puked on me, and I never see him again. I wrote to him a poem. It's in the High Court record, under the title, "The Child, Nicole Fortin, Giving Up the Child, Michel Fortin."
Oh, look at you. Your fists so tight, your feet so small, your eyes so bright. Anyone would say you're beautiful. Anyone would say the world is at your feet. Let me tell you how I feel. You've changed me in a way so real. When I stepped out of the courtroom, the social worker turned to me and said, "I could have slapped you. I was so embarrassed by the poem you insisted to read." And I look at her. I'm speaking my heart. I'm saying what is true, and you are telling me I should be ashamed. By 22 weeks, Nicole seemed large for dates. We checked her dates again. She was sure of them. She kept telling me this baby was kicking her. Now on this side, now over here. So I said, "Any twins in your family?" And she immediately said, "Mais bien sûr." I felt her belly. I rocked it. I could feel a lot of baby in there. I called another midwife to listen with me. We both had Dopplers. We heard two distinct heartbeats side by side, confirming the presence of twins. Unfortunately, we don't do twin births at home, I told her right away. With identical twins, there are many more risks. To begin my preparation for this birth, I went back over a collection of birth notes. I remembered a mysterious birth I'd attended. One morning, about 6, I get a call. A woman wakes me from a nightmare. We are standing in the square, listening to our leader, who Mama says so many times, saving us from the teeth of the wolf. For him to weep like a child. What does this mean? Fathers and mothers, give us the best you have. Give me your children. saving us from such. I open my eyes. My hand is on the phone. "Are you a midwife?" she says. "I think I'm going to have my baby today." So now I'm awake. I'm thinking, and I say, "I don't even know you. It would be really irresponsible. I mean, do you need someone to come to the hospital with you?" She says, "I'm looking for a midwife. I'm not going to the hospital. Will you be with me?" An hour later, she's standing on my steps in strong labor. Her pupils are dilated. She has her little daughter by the hand. Her daughter's name is the woman who overlooks the village and sits on the hill. She's a native woman, and she's in her full power. So, okay, I say to myself, you didn't choose this birth, it chose you. I felt her belly. It was a big baby. It felt like a 10-pound baby, so I said, "How big was your girl?" And she said, 9 pounds. I have to go to the toilet. So she's in the toilet, and I can hear she's bearing down, so I go into the bathroom, and I can see the baby is going to come, and she pushes, and I look, and it's a little bum. It's breech. Midwives don't do breech. And she was so grounded. It just came out of her so natural, so matter-of-fact. "Oh, the little bum," she said. And then the little feet popped out. It was a neat way to land on the earth for the first time. I didn't have to do anything. I just observed. The baby did this little twirl and was born. And she reached down and said, "My wind water." And she put him on her breast. And I said, "This isn't a 10-pound baby, it's a 7-pound baby. You've got another baby in there. It might not even be living." And she just said, "My dream." And she gave a push with the next contraction, and out came this beautiful baby in a clear bag of water. You could tell the baby wasn't animate. It was about 3 pounds, like a little wet puppy with the dark hair. Then the placenta came out. It was a really big placenta. One side was really healthy. The other side had necrotized. The cord was hemorrhaged, but the baby was perfectly formed. It's 8 o'clock now. My boyfriend comes in for his morning pee, and there's a stillborn baby in the bathtub. He comes out. "Honey, I've been really supportive, but..." I asked the mother, "What should we do with this baby?" "I'm not sure," she says. "I'll consult with the elders." And they said, the baby needs to be wrapped in cedar boughs. And of course, a cedar tree was growing in our front yard. The mother got into the tub. She got dressed, took the baby in the basket along with Windwater and the woman who overlooks the village and sits on the hill. This all happened in about an hour. She's on my porch. She's going down the steps. She turns around. "By the way, I'm Brenda." In the next 10 weeks, I visited Nicole 5 times. The cesarean with her first birth at age 17 was due to a failure to progress. Everything else was normal, except that the baby, whose name was Michel Fortin, was given up for adoption. Her second birth here in town was a vaginal birth. The baby aspirated meconium was intubated and put in the intensive care nursery for observation. What was the reason for the meconium? Was it the failed epidural? If it took partially, it could have caused a drop in the blood pressure and lack of oxygen to the baby. Maybe it was fear. If she was afraid, her blood pressure would have gone up. Lack of oxygen, baby in distress, meconium. The good signs from this birth: no scar rupture from the previous cesarean. Her pelvis had been proven adequate in size and her uterus efficient enough to expel an 8-pound baby. At 34 weeks, we consulted an obstetrician, Dr. Sarah Bieneman.
Baby. Looks like good.
And this is our last baby, so we're gonna really enjoy it.
I believe in the sweetness of angels, in divine intervention, be it cold, be it slight. And I believe once you stepped over, there is no turning back for you. Tasted the light.
Hi, I'm Meg. Meg? Your name is Meg. I'm sorry. You remind me of someone I have not seen in so many years. The mother is healthy. But with twins, there are so many situations that can arise. Premature labor. Although we don't know the reason for the onset of labor itself, premature labor, an excessive amniotic fluid, and overdistension of the uterus. These are factors much more likely to be present with twins. Now, both you and I can see that Nicole's condition is so free of complications, but in the face of statistics, what can we believe? The truth is, it happens. With twins, she is much more likely to deliver prematurely. Because of this, she should be close to a hospital. Now, I understand at your local hospital, they have a policy, no high-risk births, and twins are considered to be high risk. What to do? Well, I think that the mother should move into town as soon as possible so she can be close to the hospital there. Does she have any friends in town? Perhaps she can stay at the Y. I know this is uncomfortable, unfamiliar surroundings. Sometimes we have to endure these things. Meg, I understand you believe strongly in the home birth. I don't think it is wise in this case. You remind me of someone I have not seen to endure these things. And twins are considered to be high risk to endure these things.
Do the doctors recommend it? Then I don't believe it. There are so many stories in my head about these people. It is difficult to have an instinct about any one of them. When I was a child, I heard it was the stork that bring the baby in from the rooftop, suspended in a white sheet. But I knew it was my mother with the big belly and the baby inside. So I conclude that my mother's stomach opened up at the last moment with the sun shining on it, and the stork, he come down and snatched it right out at the last minute. The only thing I couldn't explain was, where did he get the white sheet? This was my image of Bert. No wonder it was such a short step to let them cut me open. I will tell you a secret. I have a scar. Right here. The doctors and the nurses, they call this a zipper. But this is a lie. When I was 16, this was a soft, sweet area of my body. My firstborn, he is 20-year-old to this day, and I have no feeling between that scar and my clitoris. When they cut you to get the baby deep inside that safe caveolus vertebra deep, it crossed many layers right across the core of you that is most deeply a woman. Take a long time to heal, and you are never the same. On the deepest level, I feel that I have failed because I sense that birth, in the way it was meant to be, is a masterpiece.
I am a woman of few words, but here is what I have to say. If I had a dream worth living, well, I would give it away. In my life I have been broken, brought to my knees upon the ground. But as the story goes, a phoenix from the ash, you can't keep a good woman down. Hey, hey. Hey, could you tell me, is it love shines from my eyes? Or do they ask too much of you? I vowed to step lightly on this earth, shed my tears as morning dew. Ooh, oh, I don't know what brought me here, or the purpose of my load. But when the time has come for me to say goodbye, may my love become your road. Oh, oh, oh.
I decided to visit Nicole again. Instinctively, I felt we shared a great deal, but she held on to her secrets. Well, I held on to mine. I was dressed up for surgery, helping the doctor to take the baby out of your belly. He cut into your skin with a crucifix. as he peeled the layers of muscle away, I was thinking about all the babies and mothers whose lives couldn't have been saved in any other way. And when we pulled the baby out, it was Dr. Sarah Bieneman. And then she turned into a little girl or something, and she was wearing a red dress with braids, sitting on the steps in a square, and she was crying. And she said, to survive means your heart is broken. I gotta tell you about my daddy. My daddy was a big man. Well, you know, he was the preacher. And the thing about my daddy is, whenever he's in a room, there's this space he takes up. Like he's already breathed in all of the air. And when the air was inside him, he gave it a sermon and told it how to behave. So that when he breathes out, it's already reverent air. And when you inhale it and exhale it, it forms into this mist of reverence that fills up every corner of the room. And you know, the sun shines through the window like grace from heaven. And every molecule is holding itself, waiting for my daddy to speak. And when he speaks, it's the word of the Lord. Last time I saw him, he was on his back in an oxygen tent with a tube in his nose. And I was all shaky, you know, anticipating him, because I knew he'd been through a dreadful thing. And sure enough, when I got in the room, I had to watch his chest moving up and down to make sure he was breathing. And it was so still in that room. I could taste it. I mean, I contributed to it. The promise of God, like we were all in a church. And my eyes were, you know, wandering around the room, looking for some powerful distraction. And right there, pinned under his butt, was his Bible. And like a shot, my heart went out to him. You know, a little thing like that, his Bible. Like he was afraid, and he'd been praying for himself. I mean, I felt like the forgiving Lord in that moment. And then I remembered the song I sang to myself on the bed every day of being a girl. It was a song I never sang out loud. I grabbed my daddy's hand like it was going to save me. All the veins, thick and raised. I remembered that hand. I turned it over. Of course, it was the same hand I knew. Whatever that hand had done, it was familiar. It was my father's hand. And then I saw his leg. All jagged like the inseam of a pair of stockings with staples all the way up to his crotch. And just then my daddy moved and his gown fell open, and I was just looking at his penis and his balls. Right there, out in the open. You know, nestled in among the pubic hairs, but exposed. And the doctor was behind me, but he saw it too. His hand went up. Instinctively, I froze. And then the doctor went past me and covered up my daddy so that he wouldn't be embarrassed because his balls were showing. And he did it with purpose, like it had to be done before anything else. Oh, my mind filled up with pictures then. My daddy died the next day. So I feel free to sing my song. Hallelujah to the preacher man standing up there so tall and tan. He's my daddy, and I'm so proud, singing praise to the Lord of love.
inside my bedroom. He's an older man. He's pleading with me. I'm just a child. He wants to touch me again. The Lord is with us. It's okay. But what he does won't go away. Think
To the preacher man, standing up there, so tall and tan. He's my daddy.
Meg, honey, it's your daddy. Open up the door.
give us the best you have. Give me your children.
Somehow, I am in the midst of that birth again. I am holding that child in my arms, the stillborn, the breached twin, Brenda's other baby, the one who chose to die before it was born. This is the moment I notice the baby is a girl.
In my practice, I observe a moment when a child decides to live. And after this moment, it is always struggling to stay alive. This puzzles me that a being fights so hard to live without having a reason. But it works in your favor when you are trying to save a life. However, are we not in the business of bringing these babies over the threshold alive so that they have a chance to struggle for life? With twins, there are so many situations that can arise. Some of them serious, enough to threaten a life. There are 3 lives here at stake.
Nicole's 35 weeks now. The bigger twin is dipping into the brim nicely with his head down over the cervix, and the other twin is in a beautiful position. It's like yin and yang. Complication, unstable or transverse lie. After the birth of the first twin, it's relatively easy to reach up, turn the baby with good contractions, and bring the second baby down. Contractions don't resume. We have to consider transport. Here again, cord prolapse is a concern, especially if we...
What about meconium aspiration? Can you intubate?
I can. And the research shows that true meconium aspiration. The twins have just passed a biophysical profile in flying colors before the baby takes its first breath and determine if there's suction on the perineum before the baby.
What about rupture of the uterus? This is a serious complication.
Nicole labored 10 hours before the section with her first child. The scar healed well. She delivered an 8-pound baby, VBAC, no rupture. And the research is in her favor.
What if the uterus is too tight to deliver the second baby? You can have a big bleed. In the hospital, we are ready to jump in with the section to save the mother and the baby's life. At home, what can you rely on? The strength of the mother? Her belief that she can do anything? Meg, why are you risking this?
I'm haunted by the warning of an early mentor. A good midwife knows her limitations. My partner finally says, "Honey, is one woman really worth all this?" I've never turned a woman down as long as she takes responsibility for her own birth. Nicole doesn't even have the choice to birth in the local hospital. They won't book high-risk births here. She won't go to the city. She wants to be at home.
You are asking me the question that you have been afraid to ask me all these months. You are telling me that if I don't go to the hospital, there is a chance that my babies will not be alive when the birth is over. You want to know if I am going to risk that my babies will die. I understand this so clearly. I am the mother of these babies in my womb. My natural instinct requires me to want them to survive with every cell of my being. As a mother, it is my only desperation. You have asked me what I bring to this birth, and I have not told you the full story. What happened was that I was alone. The father of my second child was in another land when it was my time to deliver. But I felt myself fortunate to have made the friendship of the Dr. January, who became the main man in my life. And secretly I put all my desires on him. He was the only one there for me. He knew I ate the hospital, so he agreed to give me an exam in exchange for a foot massage once a month at his house. What's wrong with that? He thought it was okay, so I relaxed. His wife would fix a vegetarian meal. I would massage his feet and he would make sure that everything with the pregnancy was going fine. I was 1 week overdue the night he invited me for dinner at his home. His wife, she was at a business meeting in Vancouver. He bring a bottle of wine and he say, you know, your problem is you're too nervous about this. You gotta lighten up. Have a glass of wine. We're gonna have a good time. And so we did. And while I was massaging his feet, he said to me, forgive me, Nicole, for what I am about to do. And he lifted up my dress and put his penis inside of me. When he was finished, he said, I am so sorry I couldn't help myself. You are so beautiful. I was so confused to hear him tell me that I am beautiful. Oh, these are the words a woman loves to hear. But I didn't give him permission to do that. It was something that he took for himself because he could see that it would be easy to have. And you know, just like that, my labor began. Only this time, it was moving through me. I was high with it, I was handling it, and I was in control. And so I drive myself home because I know I need to be alone in a safe place. And I don't know how much time had gone by. I was rumbling with the earth and moving and quaking and making a lot of noise. When the telephone rang, I feel certain the baby is gonna be born right now. It was my girlfriend Odile with the taxi to take me to the hospital. When I see the door to the hospital, there is the smell of the hallway, a recognition.
I am suddenly a teenager again, afraid of the pain and captive in my body, remembering the strangers around me and my humiliation. And all of a sudden, the work that my body was doing turned to pain.
I'm a busy man, and I've been in this hospital for 12 hours. So make a decision. When I leave this hospital, nobody's going to be able to reach me. I don't know where I'm going. I may go fishing, but I won't be answering the phone. If you get into any trouble here, you're on your own. So make a decision.
Then the Dr. January, he come in the room. Of course, he is the anesthesiologist. If I am to have a cesarean, he will prepare me. But he is my friend, and I have lost hold of this labor. I don't know how long it would take for me to give birth to the baby in a natural way. I look at him as if to say, what should I do? Please tell me, what should I do? But he can't even meet my gaze. And I realize I am once again completely alone with a very big job ahead of me. When the nurses come in, I say to them, cut me up, do it now. But there is a problem. My friend, Dr. January, he is unable to find a place in my back to put the needle. He try once, he try again. He seems so ashamed, he's shaking his head, but this is my spine. The third time, he gets some spinal fluid in the needle, and I am beginning to get frightened. They will call another doctor, and for a long time I am waiting for this doctor. But something happened inside of me while I am waiting. Suddenly, I am so afraid for my baby. It is a horrible feeling that well up inside me with the blackness that is so terrifying. And I feel like if I don't get this baby out right now, she will die. I get up off my back, I rip off the monitor, and I squat down, feel the rest of my body, and I want to push. A nurse tried to help. Get your hands off me. This baby is gonna give birth to itself.
And then my water break with a rush, black and dark and gooey like my fear. And then everyone is freaking out. Finally I push and they pull my baby out and they take her away like I have disappeared. But they don't bring her back to me. They are doing something with her over there. They are frantically paying attention and pumping her. Somebody take me to another room. Like I have no part in this, like there is nothing I can do for my own baby. For 2 hours I waited in that room. Was my baby alive? So you can see, I understand the question. It is my only desperation that they should live.
Is there some way to get out of this impossible situation? I can't convince Nicole to go where I would feel safe. Reality check. Do I feel safe in hospital? No, I don't. Is it the authority thing? It's just procedure for your protection, the nurse said. But the mother, who came in with normal everything, suddenly gives a panic read on the fetal monitor, her heart rate way up, baby in distress. Why? In order to put the strip on her belly, she had to lie down compressing her vena cava, cutting off her oxygen supply. Protection for whom? Not the mother. The doctor and the lawyer. In court, they've got this printout. Let's be honest. Politically, I'd be safe in hospital.
What is troubling you, my dear? So the young mother doesn't want to come to the hospital. Does she know how our technology can keep her babies alive in the most extraordinary circumstances? Surely she must have heard how tightly we can cling to life without knowing why. You know, Sarah, the first birth I ever saw, it was a young mother, a girl really, and she had bunchy electric shock red hair and freckles and green eyes. She was feeling the pressure, like her baby was going to be born. So she reached down to touch her baby, and the nurse grabbed her hand and pushed it off and said, "Don't touch that. That's a sterile field." Now, this was 20 years ago, and in those days they had these straps. So they strapped her hands down so she couldn't touch her baby. And then they called the doctor on the loudspeaker, and he was on a coffee break. I don't know, he just didn't come. And then, of course, the mother was crying out, so they slapped a gas mask on her. And you could see the baby's head was coming out. But of course, the baby couldn't be born without the doctor. So the nurse grabbed this leather padded thing at the bottom of the bed, and she pulled it over the mother's vagina. She pushed it so the baby couldn't be born without the doctor. Finally, the doctor rushes in. The mother's strapped to the bed with a mask on her face, and the baby's crowning, frizzy red hair. She looked like the Bride of Frankenstein. This baby was going to be born perfectly on its own. The doctor did this huge episiotomy anyway with no anesthesia. He grabbed the forceps, clamped the forceps, dropped the forceps, clang on the floor. In seconds, they stripped her of everything she came in with and turned her into a sterile field. This is the modern approach, insisting upon itself. Rushing in like the great masked man like Zorro or Captain Canuck, defining and interfering with and rescuing us from a perfectly good, time-tested, natural process. Women don't need to be rescued from birth. Her profile is good. You have been very thorough with your considerations. Maybe it will be a normal delivery, but we don't know that until it's over. Don't be irresponsible. You know there are dangers. This is not a normal birth. Nicole is not going to the hospital. Who are you? Dr. Sarah Bieneman. In my dream, you are a girl in braids and a red dress, standing in a boxcar full of orphans. You and your baby sister are the only two whose mother returns to embrace you. I have longed for my mother to see me. Who are you that your mother strokes your hair? I am an insect, hiding a host of things under my shell. In my dream, you give me cake and tea. I get sick from eating the cake. In my dream, you say to survive means your heart is broken. I am the one who gets sick from eating the cake. My secrets are leaking from every pocket. I can't keep them even for myself. When they came to get us, I had just finished feeding my dolls. My baby sister was in her crib, and I was thinking I would go outside and skip some rope under the clothes hanging on the line. I was wearing my red dress with the embroidered flowers on the collar. Mama had braided my hair that morning. I look up for my shoes, and the men were in the doorway with guns. 3 or 4 of them in uniform. That instant is still so clear to me. I can feel the cold air blowing through the open door. I wasn't frightened at first. His voice was so kind and soft, rather like my father's. He praised my dolls, he caressed their dirty curls. I was confused. Why the guns? There was so much sorrow and hope that day in the doorway of all the houses. Mothers wailing for the children, children marching to the trains. Nobody to be consoled. Only the thin hope that somehow this would save us. But my mother's, the bullets were not meant for her. She climb on the train and she go with us. When the doors are closed and the train starts to go, we are standing like fish in a can. My eyes fall again and again on the dark blue button of Mama's wool coat. Hannah cries. Mama caresses my hair. Somebody found a piece of paper stuck between the slats. Mother won't show the paper to the children, but I can read. Brothers and sisters, save yourself. Death awaits you. When we arrived, I am feeling lucky. Peter Klein from our village is opening the door of our transport. He looks so thin and lost, but he is alive. If he is alive, our people are safe. I notice a smell everywhere as Mama whispers to Peter, motioning to me and Hannah. I look at my mother for a cue. She glanced at me as if to say, who has the time for something as insignificant as an explanation to a child? But through that look, I saw the fear. And then we went into the showers where we strip ourselves of clothes. And then we waited outside in the open. Thousands of us naked in the open. We waited for hours.
The little man with the whip in his hand was dark, motioning people to one side or the other. We are almost at the front, and Mama tells me to stand tall, stand behind her and pretend she does not know me. I am big for my age, and although I am ashamed to be naked in front of these men, I stretch myself up for the inspection. Mama goes before me to one side. I am facing this man with his thumb up and a riding whip in his hand like an extension of his arm. He looks at me as if he can see the little breaths in my body pushing their way through. My arms go up to cover myself. He motions me to the other side. I am swallowing hard. I am looking down. I don't know it, but my life has been given back to me by this man. My baby sister and my mother and some other men and women on that side shuffle away. Mama, look back at me.
I must look at her. I must see her back and her naked buttocks. I must see my baby sister Hannah looking over her shoulder like a baby does, innocent and expecting the world to unfold like a flower. I can't avoid seeing the soldier grab my baby sister from my mother's arms and throw her into the fire. I see my mother lunge after her. I am hearing screams. I'm seeing a gun go off into her skull. He's kicking her into the bed. My baby sister must have been screaming on the coals in that fireplace. They threw her in alive. What was they thinking? That babies are too young to feel anything. That day, the sky was black with smoke. Most people did not know because they did not want to know. In Canada, it's easy to feel safe the next morning. You can wake up in a mall surrounded by sunshine and colorful toys. For me, there is no waking from this nightmare. It hunts me down wherever I am. I have spent my life naked in line, hoping my mother would turn around. During my lifetime, what the years define as my lifetime, the rest of the world carried on in silence, repeating itself in chapters of the same story. An early morning world, clean uniforms, scrubbed faces, productive and intelligent, muffling the cries in the back room, washing so much blood from sticky fingers, starting over the next day, cleaned and pressed, like nothing happened last night. As if death is reluctant to strike those who smell like lotion. As if the secret to immortality is to have a face that has been recently shaved. And everywhere I see this look. The look on the face of the dark little man with the whip in his hand. People holding on to their hatred, saving a dark space in their hearts for something they want to believe is evil. The medical profession is just like any other crowd. Feeling threatened, their eyes easily fall on a scapegoat. They will throw stones until you bleed and then elevate themselves as if they are doing a favor to humanity.
It could happen to you, Meg. Men could come in the middle of breakfast and take away your life forever. For Nicole and her twins, there are some things the hospital can offer. But for you at home, there is nothing if anything should go wrong. Why are you standing there like a target? Nicole is the mother. She's going to be there for her babies. It's her nature. If I'm not there for her, who will be? Who is there for the mother? Meg! Today is the day! I can feel in my body the signs, and I know my little bundles are very close to being in my arms. This morning, I received a telephone call. A young man with a shaky voice from very far away. Hello, is this Nicole Fortin? I think I am your son. It was Michel. They are calling him Robbie, but he is happy and he has grown up to be such a fine young man. We talked for hours like we were old friends. I told him about my little angels. I have 2 angels in here. One is a boy, and one is a girl. How do I know these things? A mother knows these things. And besides, the twins have spoken to me already. I saw my boy, he is big. He was on my hip and we were in a glorious field and my heart was filled with so much love for him. He is fat and he is happy and he knows the world will honor him and bless him when he rolls out. And my daughter? Well, her body is here, but she is floating around up there somewhere. Why are you hesitant, my daughter? I ask her. You know I will love you. Yes, Mama, I know. Mother monkeys love their baby monkeys. She is much wiser than the boy. He is very creative, but he doesn't have much experience. My daughter, she wants to know, is there anything gonna be different? Is it really safe for her to come out? This is a good question. It forced me to look around at things, not just the surface of things, but what do we really value and how are we treating one another? I was surprised when I began to ask the women about their birth stories. There is so much pain and humiliation in these stories. You have to wonder, was there ever a time when something so simple and profound like the birth of a child was honored? She is the second one to be born. She is the one the doctors are worried about. What if the placenta comes out with my boy and there is not enough oxygen for her? What is going to happen? I'll be here in my home with you, Meg, and with my Michelina and my Darjeeling. What is going to happen? Well, maybe you have your hands inside of me and I will be open to the universe. And together we will gather all the power that we can. And maybe my girl decide that nothing is different. Maybe this is how she make her choice. I want to hold her in my arms, and so I hope she is born safely.
But all I can hope is that something small begin to change in the world, and she is heartened by it.
Once again, I'm brought to a safe place by a mother who knows she's going to give birth today. There's a feeling you get before a birth. Sometimes midwives' fingers tingle. My senses heighten. I get really clear. Everything becomes meaningful. I see the wind. I taste the sky. I can smell water. It's a moment of knowing, a split second of trust in the wholeness of the universe.
Hello, Meg. There is something about the work you're doing that touches me. I am feeling close to the people I loved as a child. My mother, my baby sister, my father, my family I have been unable to mourn for so many years. It seems to me you are like one raindrop in the ocean, so small as not even to be noticed at all. What difference can you make? And yet, even a raindrop creates an echo that is felt at the edges of the shore. I am feeling this echo. When I look back on that moment I have seen repeated for so many years, suddenly I am hearing a conversation my mother had with Peter Klein, the man at the doorway to the train. And I realize it was not the man with the whip in his hand who gave me back my life in those seconds. It was Mama. It seems to me Peter warned Mama to give baby Hannah to one of the old men in the village to hold during the selection. Peter knew that babies and children and old people were automatically sent to the ovens. If Mama had given baby Hannah away, there was a chance she could have saved herself. But she could not bear to leave my baby sister to die alone. And she must have felt that I would survive if I pretended not to know her. For this instruction was her last gift to me. Of course, the questions that you ask cuts to my heart. Yes, Mama was there to the last second for me and my baby sister Hannah. But who was there for her? No one. So, I have come to be with you and the young mother Nicole. Perhaps there is something I can offer.
It's midnight. From Nicole's house on the beach, I can hear the waves lapping on the shore. Nicole is breathing with her labor, which has begun. The moon does its bright dance across the waters. The window is open.
I believe in the sweetness of angels, in divine intervention, be it bold, be it slight. And I believe that once you've stepped over, there is no turning back for you. Tasted the light. I release the weight on my shoulders. I release the voice in my head that says, please, before you get any older, you must wake from your dreaming and make up your bed. And I release this so subtle slavery that has chained up my visions and left them for dead. And I release the shame of my knowing that I've stood in perfection with each word that I've said. Sweetness of angels, in divine intervention, be it bold, be it slight. And I believe that once you've stepped over, there is no turning back for you. Tasted the light.